And good Monday evening, Pitt State football fans. Welcome to Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh. Another installment of the Coach Tim Beck Show. Eddie Lomshek here, and solo for the moment. Coach Beck unable to be here this week, but we'll have defensive coordinator Dave Wiemers and offensive coordinator Steve Rampy alongside momentarily. Pittsburgh State, obviously a good weekend. Any win's a good weekend. Road wins are doubly nice, and when you win at 38-17 and pretty much set the tone on both sides of the ball, you feel really good, and Pitt State able to do that. Went up to Warrensburg, Missouri, final road game of the regular season. It was the final home game for Central, so you know you're probably going to get a good shot from them and any number of things to contend with. But Pittsburgh State indeed set that tone. I mentioned this at the start of our 5 o'clock show. When you play a team like that, it's two teams with somewhat different philosophies. Pittsburgh State more physical, running the ball, and want to be able to defend the run a little more. Central, not that they don't want to defend certain things, but maybe a little more of a finesse-type team, and they'll throw it 55 or 60 times if they need to. And that was a big area going in, was going to be the running game. If Pitt State could play some keep away, get some points at the end of some drives, convert third downs and keep your defense off the field. And then, of course, if your defense is fresh, it allows you to get some pressure on a passing-type team, and you hope that's the case. And it turns out both of those things came through, and I thought the two biggest areas of the game were the run game on offense and then the pass rush on defense. Not that you get 10 sacks or anything like that, but consistent pressure led to some very, very good things for Pitt State. First time in 3 years they've beaten Central, but have won 19 of 23 in the series since joining the MIAA in 1989. Among the numbers, 366 on the ground, 8 of 14 third downs, plus 14 minutes time of possession. Senior quarterback Zach Dickey rushed for 111 and 2 touchdowns, completed 9 of 13 passes for 155 and 2 touchdowns. PSU 8-0 overall, 7-0 in the MIAA. Idle this week. Next action at home with Washburn a week from Saturday. On the defensive side of the football, allowed just 115 rush, 51 of those on a touchdown run by a running back for Central with about 3.5 minutes to go in the game. 2 takeaways for the defense, a blocked field goal, numerous quarterback hurries and pressures and knockdowns, and 10 pass breakups in the ballgame. A big stat as well. Other MIAA action, if you missed it Saturday, Missouri Southern at home set a school record for points, beat SBU 62-28. Northwest Missouri at home in a top 10 showdown, a big second half as they beat Washburn 52-28. Emporia had a 21-0 fourth quarter, winning 52-23 at Lincoln. Missouri Western dominated Truman State 45-7, and it was Fort Hays State getting a good non-conference win on the road 38-21. Now on Mondays, the rest of the regular season, you will have regional rankings that do come out, and the first set out today with only 3 weeks to go in the regular season. The MIAA is in a region called Super Region 4. It also includes the Lone Star Conference, the Great Northwest Conference, and some Arkansas and Oklahoma schools that will be called the Great American Conference, and there are also a couple of independent schools sprinkled throughout the region. But top 6 in each region after the regular season will qualify for the national playoffs. Top 2 get a first-round bye. Midwestern State of Texas out in Wichita Falls, they are number 1 at 7-0, coming off a big win over Abilene Christian. Pitt State is unbeaten through 8 games. They are number 2. So given that, and again, a lot can change in the final 3 weeks, but given that, Pittsburgh State, at worst-case scenario, controls their own destiny for obviously a playoff berth, perhaps a first-round bye and a home playoff game, and those things are very, very important, but obviously also needs to continue to be the one game at a time approach this team has done so well executing up to this point in the year. Northwest Missouri and Washburn from the MIAA are 3-4 in the region. Abilene Christian and West Texas A&M out of the Lone Star are 5-6. Also in the top 10 from the MIAA are Missouri Western at number 7 and Central Missouri at number 10. Pitt State is tops among 3 MIAA teams in the Division II Coaches Association National Poll for this week. This poll officially recognized by the NCAA, released earlier today. Delta State of Mississippi and Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania are 1 and 2 in the country for the second consecutive week. Pitt State up 1 spot this week to number 3 after their win at Central. The Gorillas 8-0 had 2 first-place votes. Northwest Missouri up 2 spots this week to number 4. The Bearcats had 1 first-place vote. They're 7-1 after their win over Washburn. Northwest plays at Missouri Southern this weekend. Washburn fell 9 spots from number 3 to number 12 after their loss at Northwest. The Ichabods are 7-1. They'll try and rebound at home with Fort Hays State this weekend. And Missouri Western among the teams receiving some votes. They are 6-2 after that win over Truman State. And also Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern are among the schools receiving MIAA Player of the Week accolades. PSU linebacker Nate Dreiling named the Defensive Player of the Week. Dreiling, a sophomore from Hutchinson, in on 11 tackles and had 3 pass breakups in the win at Central. Led the way for that defense, and again, that held Central to 115 rush and about half their season's average in passing yards. It is the 3rd time this year Dreiling has earned the award from the conference, the 5th time a PSU player has won the award this year. Missouri Southern wide receiver Narante Threet, the MIAA Special Teams Player of the Week. Threet, a junior from Texarkana, Texas, averaged 43 yards on 3 kickoff returns, including a 90-yard touchdown in a 62-28 win over SBU. Threet also 4 receptions for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns, part of 302 all-purpose yards. Again, as the Lions tie a school record for points in a game. So that's a look at things in the MIAA and for Pittsburgh State in the rankings. Again, 8-0, 7-0 after a 38-17 win at Central Missouri. And idle this week, home with Washburn a week from Saturday. Time now for us to take our first break. When we come back, we'll delve into that first half with Central Missouri, and we'll visit with Pitt State defensive coordinator Dave Wiemers. That and more when we return on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek live from Chatters, and that was the first scoring play of the game, as Gorillas indeed did draw first blood in a 38-17 win at Central Missouri Saturday. 44-yard run there for junior tailback Bryston Wilson. Glad to have Dave Wiemers with us here. Coach Beck, again, unable to be here tonight, and Coach Wiemers, I like to call him assistant head coach formally, and give him a hard time about that, but defensive coordinator, and what a job so far by that side of the ball. Your first job, Coach. Draw a name out of the bucket. We have these giveaways on Monday nights. This is the Teresa Noyes. Come on down. Teresa Noyes gets free breakfast at Fat Daddy's, dine-in only, drinks included. Expires at the end of the calendar year, so take that. And right now, you're her favorite defensive coordinator, Coach.
I didn't even look either.
So, that's good. You're not supposed to. We'll have a couple of more of those tonight. Sitting in here for Coach Beck right now, and we'll talk with Coach Rampy later on the offense, but defensive side of the ball, and we'll talk a lot about the Central game, but, you know, to be undefeated, clearly much better than a year ago. How do you feel with where you are right now as a defense?
Well, I think we need to feel good. You know, the improvements really have been immeasurable. We've gotten better players. That usually helps. So we'll try to screw them up as coaches.
Makes you look smarter, doesn't it?
We try to screw them up, but the kids have done a great job of asking what we want them to do. They've really bought in. They show a great desire to want to win, and you know, all those things combined make us a lot better.
You know, I thought you go back to the start of the year, the Western game, playing so fast as a defense. And, you know, to have team speed is one thing. How much of that is experience from the year before that they're confident in where to go?
Yeah, that's it in my mind. You know, we continually go back and watch film from last year. We have to watch last year's team on occasion. Sometimes we don't want to, but you can see the obvious change in speed from last year to this year. So, but I would always say you can't value experience enough, especially in our league where it's typically an older player league, redshirt programs. I think experience, you can't beat enough of it, and we have a lot more of it, obviously, all across the board.
Yeah, as a D coordinator, I'm sure you were sad to see some of those quarterbacks that left last year, right?
Yeah, we've talked about that 100 times. It's nice to see maybe some guys, if you can get them struggling a little bit, they'll stay struggling. But that's been good. That's probably been the biggest difference in our league playing defense this year, is some of those guys being gone.
Well, and your guys setting the tone up front on the defensive line. I know that's a group, and I know you've likened that almost to pitching in baseball. Talk about your philosophy with having as many able bodies there as you can.
Yeah, Coach Helwig and Coach Ike and those guys up front have really taken a hold of the fact that you go in and you're going to play as hard as you can, and when it looks like maybe that motor's dialing down a notch, we're going to get another guy in there, and that takes recruiting, obviously, and you have to get 8 of them ready to play that you feel like can go out there. And they've done a great job. I think they've been disruptive in most schemes we've seen, and you know, we like to get up in the morning and rush the passer, and those guys have really taken a hold of that and done a great job. And certainly the I think the difference in what we've done maybe in the previous years is up front.
And there were games or moments in the game last week. You had 4 defensive ends in the game. You'll put Uzzle and Toka inside. But talk about on the ends, I think Worthington, Toka, Uzzle, those 3 in particular, are they just nonstop?
Yeah. They really,
how big of a part is that?
No, that's it. I think, up front now on defense, you have to take the approach that you've got to go 100 miles an hour. And you may do it for 50 plays, and you may only get there one time.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes a hard thing to do. And they've bought into that, and we've got more than one. Spencer and Gus and Joe and, Will Grissom, a guy we don't hear about a lot. And he'd be starting at a lot of places in this league and probably be a pretty good player. Guys are just good players, and they give a lot of effort, and that's what makes them so good.
Well, he's only a sophomore. He'll be a good player for us.
That's right.
And you mentioned in recruiting, and you've been a head coach, how challenging at Division II with scholarship limitations to have that quality depth.
Yeah, you just really can't miss. Of your decisions that you make in January and February, you can't be wrong very often. You've got to who's going to fit, who gets in, who's going to be a gorilla, who's going to play hard, so forth and so on. And that's the most difficult part. You've got to take a kid in. If you're going to give him a big scholarship, he needs to play, and he needs to play in a hurry. He doesn't need to wait around 3 or 4 years with that money on the bench.
Pitt State defense coordinator Dave Wiemers with us on the Coach Tim Beck Show, filling in for Coach Beck, unable to be with us tonight. Coach, 38-17 the other day at Central, and you talked about it. You might rush 50 times and only get there once. 2 official sacks the other day. I don't know how many pressures. Talk about, it was a warm day, and then they're in the shotgun all the time, and it almost not fair that you're not going to get there sometimes.
Yeah, the environment was right for us to get a little tired. We did at some places, had a couple cramp out and things, but going back and looking at it the last couple days, I thought it's probably a collection of our best play of the year as far as maybe over the course of the whole game. And I thought the defensive lineman really was disruptive. We covered really well in the secondary. I thought there was a couple kids in the secondary we put a big challenge on. Hey, you guard this guy and don't let him catch the ball. And Elijah Olabode. And, we really tried to bracket number 10 and keep him in several people's side all day. And
sort of worked, right?
Yeah, he caught 5 for 80, and I'll take that on that guy because he's a good player. But I thought it was a really good performance, and kids really deserved what they got that day, and it was good to watch them play well.
A team like Central that will, they're averaging 350 a game through the air. Kind of, I think in Coach Beck's words, kind of sneaky at running that ball. They'll slip that draw in there and that. What's your philosophy that you're probably not going to shut them out and you're not going to hold them to 200 yards of total offense? How much bend, don't break do you have there?
Yeah, it's a funny setup. It wasn't too long ago, Eddie. You'd set up, and you'd defend that run, and and that's just what you do. Well, it's not like that anymore, and we set up pretty much to defend the pass first. Do things on first down that you don't normally do. Get people a little higher, a little wider in the secondary, and it ends up working out okay. And be willing to give a run or two, and you just got to live with that. So you can't defend it all the time, but play percentages and see what you can get stopped most of the time.
Well, and with the help up front, we talked to Nate Dreiling last week, I think in pregame, about the help as a linebacker that appreciates that front play. Talk about the kind of year that you see Nate and Luke Stringer having right now.
Well, eventually those two are going to be gone together, and that's going to be a really sad day. But they're really, really good football players. They're great as the buffer players. They can play run and pass. They see it quickly. They get to where they're supposed to be, and not to mention the fact that they both play really fast. Nate's not all that fast, but gosh, he plays fast. And Luke is fast and plays fast. So they're just invaluable what those guys are doing. And I think probably the most underrated thing about them is how smart they are. We put a lot on them. They have a lot to learn throughout the course of a week and a year, and those guys handle it great, man. They're 2 really good players.
Well, they come from pretty good football backgrounds. If you know anything about the state of Kansas, How about the tackle Nate made on that kid on the bubble screen the other day? Just that, having a 6'4", 230-pound backer that can come to a stop like that and square up on a guy.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You know, you watch it, it's coming right at you. He catches the ball, and there's too much space there.
Yeah.
And you immediately look behind to see who else is coming. Well, he didn't have to. He got him down, and another one of those things. I go back to just the will to play better than what we've been previously playing. Not only last week, but last year, and what we've done up to this point. And those guys really want it, and that's just another episode of some guy wanting it a lot more than the other guy.
You know, and then Luke cramps up. You play Joe Winchapel quite a bit second half. How important is that to develop that depth?
Yeah, we don't, Joe's our depth guy at linebacker. We've got Eric Brantley and a few more, but probably the most thin place we have on defense. And Joe came in, and we didn't miss a beat there. He stepped right in and got the job done. You
mentioned the secondary. You've been dealt a blow with Chaz Smith, and you have the good depth, though. Jason Pete's come on. You mentioned Olabo, the job on Jamar Howard. Talk about the back of your defense and where they are right now.
Well, I'm really pleased. We really miss Chaz. But we haven't missed him near as much as maybe what we thought with Naeem really coming in and stepping up. We fortunately made a move. You get lucky sometimes, and moved Jason Pete over to free safety after the first 2, 3, 4 games, whatever it was, and has done a great job at free safety. We thought that would eventually be his position, but we just didn't think he was ready yet. So we threw him in, and fortunately we've gotten this amount of wins with him gaining experience. So those guys done a great job. We don't talk about Paul Robinson enough. He's done a good job moving from corner. And then Elijah Olabode and Devontae Bosby, Arius Heron at corner have done an adequate job. I thought Elijah played great the other day. We told him, you go to number 1, and you may have help sometimes, you may not. Just get him guarded, and I think the kid had 2 catches, so it was a great day for him.
6'4", 220, and always giving up that size, but a great day indeed. We need to take another break. When we come back, we'll have another giveaway, our Gorilla Nation Vital Signs Trivia Contest, and more with Pitt State Defense Coordinator David Wiemers after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric at a Lomshek Live at Chatter's Restaurant and Bar. Pitt State Defense Coordinator Dave Wiemers with us right now in Coach Beck's absence. Out of this break each week, we give you the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club Trivia Contest, brought to you by Vital Signs. Nothing you call in here, you need to be a member of the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club texting service. And to do that, text the word Gorilla Fan, all one word, to 66937. You'll get a confirmation text in return to get signed up. And then throughout the school year on Mondays, you can play the Vital Signs Trivia Contest. Also can vote for players of the game, all football and basketball season. So we'll look forward to that. And our question this week was, with Pitt State enjoying a bye, the Gorillas will play a 10-game regular season. When is the last time Pitt State played just 10 rather than a full schedule of 11 games? The options are 1988, 1993, 1994, 1998, or 2003. We'll have an answer for you later on, and the winner will get a pair of tickets to our game against Washburn November the 5th, courtesy of Vital Signs and Pitt State Athletics. All right, Coach, draw another name there out of the hat, and we'll have another free breakfast certificate. Audrey Dickey, come on down. Free breakfast at Fat Daddy's. Dine in only, includes drinks, and expires at the end of the calendar year. Yep. You keep giving my kids good marks in school, and I'll keep saying good things about your son on the radio. That's a good one to know right there. I wish you had 3 more years so I could keep milking that. But Coach Wiemers with us here, and defensively, again, at Central, good day. 10 pass breakups, and so, coverage and, of course, pressure up front, a big part of that. But, boy, if you can't get there, get a piece of it. You had a big hit by Naeem to dislodge the ball. So, picks are one thing, but I'm sure you go back and look at film and a lot of things within the game.
Yeah, that's probably our high of the year. I don't know that, but it's not really one of those stats we pay a lot of attention to. But, playing matchup zone like we do, we are typically closer to the receiver, and hey, that's the job. Don't let them catch it. If you can get in the way, knock it out of there. So 10's pretty high for us, I think. I don't know what the others have been. That's a great day for the DBs.
Your one interception was deep in the red zone. They're driving. Jason Peete gets it inside the 10, and you talk about him sliding over there. Is he kind of the prototype kid you want at free safety?
I could lie to you, but I won't. Not really.
Okay.
The days of the rangy center fielder
Yeah.
are just gone. You get a guy that plays like that, and sometimes you feel like you're playing with only 10 players. We are gradually moving towards playing with 5 corners back there, and we will eventually. But
is that just because the way offenses have evolved?
That's exactly right. Most of your bigger plays happen in the middle of the field with. Our offense does it. Everybody does. They're going to get your fast guys in the middle of the field and run by those safeties. And so Jason, isn't the prototypical type guy, but he's learning a lot. He hasn't, with the exception of maybe a couple of instances this year, the receiver got by him a couple times, but he's learning. And, we'd love to put another corner in there at that position, but he is physical. He does come downhill and tackle when we ask him to, and that's where his prototype fits in the best.
And we talked about the ends, and then on the middle of the D-line, we'd be remiss to not mention J.R. Jones, the year he's had as a run plug. Those guys aren't going to get a lot of tackles. John White, Cody Moore, I know is much improved. Yeah. So how do you feel with your down linemen?
Great. And the big thing there is improvement from last year. Now, that happens a lot with seniors, They get one more go-around with it. You typically find a guy in his last year will give you a little bit more. And I think that's true with all 3 of those guys. Cody Moore's just been an unreal surprise for us. John White's doing a good job, and JR's playing his best football since he's been here. So real happy with those guys.
Because of the play of that D-line, how much has that allowed you to, I don't want to say free up, but maybe have not had to rely on linebackers to get pressure and let them make plays more?
Yeah, it's changed us in some ways. Most of the people understand we like the pressure. We like to bring 5, 6, and 7-man pressure, and haven't had to as much. We went maybe 2 or 3 games here in the middle of the year where we pressured a lot more than maybe what we needed to. But last week we just sat down, rushed 4 most of the time, and let those guys work in the back, and that has certainly changed from maybe a year or 2 ago because of the way our defensive line is playing.
You mentioned Paul Robinson. He had a blocked field goal at the end of the half, which I thought was pretty big. You guys had coughed it up. They get on it right there. What did you see on that play?
Well, he got a great jump. I'm not
pretty
sure
close.
I'm not sure if it wasn't too great of a jump, but it's a good jump if they don't call it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was an enormous play. There was 2 big plays in the game. I thought that was one of them. And then, when John Thomas got hit 14 times and scored, I thought it was a huge play in the course of the game. But you block, they get great field position, and then they don't get anything right before the half. You get to send them into halftime feeling like that.
Yeah.
That's certainly in your favor.
Another big play that led to points for you rather than stopping points on a kickoff return. Bryant Sanchez strips the ball. Eric Brantley gets it. Bryant Sanchez is a guy that when he's on the field, good things seem to happen.
Yeah, he plays faster than what he is. I think he really enjoys playing football, and he went right in there and had one thing in mind.
Yeah.
And got that ball out of there, and I was proud of that play. I get to spend a lot of time with that team, and to go down there and make a big play in the game. And then, we have bonded so well as an offense and defense, and our chemistry is really good right now, and it's good to watch a good play happen on defense, and the offense takes it and scores. That's team football, and that's what'll get you to better places than anything else.
How much helps your defense going against our offense in practice?
We do a lot more of it now than we ever have in the past. Whether we've got a good group of coaches that don't mind doing it, and the fast-paced work that we get in practice against each other is invaluable. You keep a game speed going throughout the course of the week more often. Does nothing but help.
How much as a coach do you worry about being too physical during the week and risking injury?
We do. We worry about it all the time. You got to count the number of car wrecks those big boys are getting.
Yeah.
And it's something you got to measure. You got to stay on all the time. And first minute that you feel like maybe you're getting a little bit wore down, which I think we are a little bit, it's a great bye week for us.
Yeah.
You just need to be careful and watch what you're doing in practice.
Yeah, that's kind of my next point. You get a bye week, which is not a very common thing, but everybody needs to heal up. You obviously you're playing well. You want to keep the momentum, but you feel like it comes at an okay time.
I do. I hate bye weeks, but in this particular case, I don't think it could come at a better time. Feels good when you're 8-0 to have a bye week rather than coming off a bad taste in your mouth. But we can use the extra work and get some recruiting time in, get some young guy practice in, and then certainly keep the timing on our guys that are playing.
Another guy that comes on the field, you mentioned earlier, Naeem Forrester, had one of the big hits we do as part of our broadcast, and a guy that didn't play football last fall. How much have you seen the rust getting worn off of him now?
I've always had a little theory on junior college players that I don't care how good they are, you're going to have to wait 4 or 5 games. And we're about to 4 or 5 with Naeem. He's been playing part-time early on, and it's about game 4 or 5, and that's usually when you start to see those guys become one of yours. You know, they've been somebody else's, until you can get them on your field and they can play with the same guys and become a gorilla. And you can see him doing that. His level of play is elevated every week.
Is he a pretty physical player by nature, you think?
Yeah, he'll hit you. Naeem has the potential to be a dynamite player. And hopefully we'll see it at Pittsburgh State eventually. The time off never helps a player, just traditionally hasn't. And, he's got to just get back in game shape and things that he needs to do to be that great player.
When you look at, where you are right now, you never feel like you do everything well. What's at the top of your list you think you need to be doing better as a defense?
Probably defending more plays in the secondary. We're getting quite a bit of new stuff on the weekend, and we've got to find a way in just our base coverages to make sure we get everything guarded. That's probably number one, and then keep our health. Just stay fresh. Our play number total for each player is so far down from the previous years. It's got ourselves set up for a good end of the year for us. So, some of these guys haven't played 8 games. They've maybe played 6 or 7, and that'll be helpful in the end.
How much as well that, you've been here, 4 years and have had different systems. Second year for this, how big of a part of that is the consistency?
Well, it's huge. Play the same scheme over and over, man. And it finally clicked in. I told myself about 3 weeks ago, I thought that we are starting to understand what we're doing. You could just see it in the kids that we're getting an idea on the base, what we're supposed to do, how to blitz, how to guard more routes. And, it just goes up from there, we hope. So being in the same scheme, and if we're always going to be in 4-man front if we have the option. We just needed to get recruited enough to do that, and starting to see some of the benefits of staying together for a while.
How challenging is it in this league week to week, given the diversity of some of the offenses you see?
Well,
pretty fun.
No. You get a playbook each year on different teams, and then they may change a coordinator or a head coach, and then you just basically throw that out and you start over. And it certainly can get difficult at times. And we have such a diverse league. You may have a cluster of 2 or 3 teams that kind of play alike, and you can share ideas on that. But you better, when you install your game, you install your defense in August, you better make sure you're thinking ahead of everything you're going to see. So you can practice it ahead of time, because you may not practice it for 3 weeks, and then you got to pull it out again and get it ready for Saturday. So it's difficult, but it's part of the job, and you got to get taken care of.
Yeah, and the tempo, you mentioned all that. One more thing here, as you get ready for Washburn, it's a couple weeks down the road. There is familiarity with them because of the things in place, pro-style offense. What comes to the top of your mind about defending the Ichabods?
Well, the good quarterback is top of the list. He's become a very good player. You can see his timing is really good right now. He throws balls early. He throws balls on the receiver and you're thinking about being there yet. He's got great touch. He's durable. And I think he's pretty tough. So, he's going to have a big target on him. We're going to have to try and get to him, see if we can be disruptive and get him out of schedule and get him off sequence. That'll be first and foremost.
Very good. Coach, thanks for your time, for being with us here. Pitt State defense coordinator Dave Wiemers. We'll take another break, come back, turn our attention to offense with coordinator Steve Rampy when we return on the Coach Tim Beck Show. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. That was a remarkable run after the catch by John Thomas. 70-yard scoring play there. I'm a little technical. There we go. But remarkable run and catch for him as a big answer, too, at a very key moment in that game. Go over that in just a moment. Out of this break, we'll answer our Gorilla Nation Vital Signs Trivia Contest. If you're a member of the Mobile Fan Club, you were asked via the text, Pitt State, last time they played a 10-game regular season. It will happen this year with the bye. The options were 88, 93, 94, 98, and 03. And the answer was D, 1998. Pitt State opened that year against Texas A&M Commerce. Played 10 straight weeks and 7-3 overall that year. But Michelle Howard of Springdale, Arkansas knew that through the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club texting service. And she will get a pair of tickets to the November 5th home game against Washburn. Offense coordinator Steve Rampy with us. We'll turn our attention to that side of the ball. Again, Coach Beck unable to be here tonight. Coach got to draw a name out of the bucket. Right. No pressure. And this is the big one, though, $25. Mitch Riggs, come on down. Mitch is over there somewhere on the other side, so let Mitch know. Well, here he comes. $25 gift certificate here to Chatters and the House of Wings. We'll do those giveaways each week. Hope to see you here Mondays throughout the Pitt State season. We will not be here next week with the bye, so you'll have to make other plans for Halloween. So there you go, Mitch. Enjoy that, and thanks for being here. Coach Rampy, offensively, good day, 38 points on the road, and you'll take that. And right now, just, in your words, where do you feel you are as an offense?
Well, I think we're running the ball awfully well. We had 366 yards rushing Saturday, which for the last 2 years I think is our highest rushing total for a game. And that just, you got to point to those guys up front. They are playing with such confidence and such a physical nature. And we just feel like we can knock any front off the ball, and we're taking advantage of what those guys can do.
And given that, with that, I should say, given the injury to Josiah Cody, you lose Aaron Kolich a couple of weeks in. What's that like, having to patch things together, sometimes on very short notice?
Well, I think you can kind of refer to Steve Wells maybe as a magician.
Yeah.
He is as fine a young line coach probably as there is in the country, and he what he does with those guys day in, day out is remarkable. We did not miss a beat, and those guys that you talked about are very, very good players. And Coach Wells was just determined for us to be good up front, and he's really done a remarkable job with them. You
play a team like Central, and you get so hung up on the defense because they do throw it so much, and they're very prolific. How do you see your role as an offense? Not that it changes every game. You want to score as much as you can, but how do you see your role as an offense to kind of complement your defense there?
Well, we talked about having to keep the ball out of their hands. The one thing we wanted to do was control the clock and get first downs and control the chains a little bit. But they were very much improved on defense. I mean, the week before, they had held a pretty good running Hayes team to no first downs in the first half. So we had a pretty high level of concern how physical they were going to be with us, and could we go into the game and really control the clock. And, again, our guys up front, and Bryson ran well, and Zach ran well, and Spradling ran well, and the guys in the running game really did a good job. It was probably the best game that Briston Kelly's had as a blocking tight end for us in 2 years. He really did a nice job blocking their defensive ends, who we thought were very good players going into the game. So it just all came together in the running game, and we were pretty successful.
And yet you threw the ball a little bit early. Do you look at the defense, and if they're 8 and 9 up front, are you trying to loosen them up a little bit?
Yeah, we packaged so many things together, and we've really made an attempt the last, 4 or 5, 6 weeks to look at our own tendencies and see what our opponents are seeing, and really try to get them off balance a little bit. And so we try to come out. We're never going to be wide open and wing it all over the field, but still try to take advantage of some of the things that some tendencies we may have had in the previous 3 or 4 weeks, and do some play action pass off those kind of running plays and spread the field a little bit and get us the guys outside.
Well, your first touchdown we heard earlier, 44-yard run for Bryson Wilson, and didn't look like Central had a whole lot second level there. What did you see on that play?
Well, it was a zone read back to the tight end side. We zone blocked to the split side, I guess, and we read the tight end side, and that's something that Coach Wells really emphasizes that he likes to do a lot, and we're not the only team that does it, but not very many teams run it that way. And the end came upfield a little bit, and Bryson hit a crease, and Cody Holland had a great block on the linebacker to that side, and Bryson showed maybe a little more speed than people thought he had, but I think he was running for his life because he didn't want to get caught and be made fun of. But he had a great burst of speed to get through the hole and then was able to get to the end zone.
Coach Beck's talked a lot about how hard he's worked to become in better shape, and we had the game at Hayes with 35 carries. What do you see in Bryson compared to last year?
Well, he's a much better condition than he was a year ago. He's stronger than he was a year ago. He comes and brings a workmanlike attitude to practice every day. He works really hard in practice and understands the importance of that as a leader, one of the leaders on our offense. I think he really in the last 3 weeks has improved his blocking. He's really doing a good job blocking on some of the things we asked him to block as a running back for. He's just really conscientious of trying to be a better football player day in, day out, and we're really proud of his efforts.
Yeah, I thought that was the case the other day. You run some straight follows with Zach where he'll look to one side and then take off the other, and you follow. You had the touchdown on the goal line with the power eye, and I don't know if all three turn into blockers, but how much tougher do you think that makes it on a defense to show those things out of a running formation, and yet you throw that wrinkle in there?
Well, one of the advantages of being in a shotgun offense is when you have a running quarterback like we have, and he's one of the best runners in the country probably, is your running back. Now, if he can become a blocking fullback type for him, that really allows you to outnumber defenses to either side, because they have to not only account for the quarterback, but now you put a blocker in front of him, and they don't have enough numbers to that side usually to defend what we're trying to do. So we ask him to do a lot of things like a fullback some, but still be our ball carrier. So it's a really important part of our offense. You score after the kickoff return, big swing in the game. How important is that to make sure you cash in that field position? I'm sorry.
That kickoff return, you guys strip the ball, and then you end up scoring. How important is that as an offense to make sure you take advantage of that?
It was a play-action pass we put in last week,
and
Zach made a really nice read on it. We had not thrown it to Eric Love all week. He was kind of a middle seam route inside the tight end, and Zach made a really nice read coming off of him because the safety jumped on Briston Kelly. And it was just a really nice heads-up throw, athletic throw. We wanted to cap off. You don't want to get a turnover like that in that situation and not be able to put it in the end zone. So it was a big play in the first half.
Yeah, and we saw the opposite effect of that a little bit later when they did get it and then had the field goal blocked and ended up off the board. Eric Love's a guy. He does some thankless work that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. Gets a couple of carries the other day. He had the touchdown catch. How big a part of things is he for you right now?
We couldn't do what we do offensively without Eric Love. He is so critical in the option game, blocking the edge and cutting linebackers. We run inside zone and ask him to cut back and block and cut defensive ends. He's only about 190 pounds, and he's just tough as a boot, though. He'll go cut anybody. And I think our offense recognizes how important he is. I mean, nobody takes for granted what he provides for us. And like I said, we couldn't be in our two-back running game without Eric Love's efforts.
You mentioned Zach running the ball, 111, 2 touchdowns, but also 9 of 13 throwing it, 2 touchdowns there. You could sit here all day and talk about the quarterback needing to be a guy that's accountable, I guess, for the defense. Talk about the year Zach's had for you.
He's done a really good job. He has distributed the ball where it needs to be distributed to. He himself is a real dangerous weapon. I mean, ask Coach Wiemers, he talks about having to account for a running quarterback in a shotgun spread offense is something a lot of defenses can't account for. And we knew he could do that. There was no question he was going to be able to do the zone read, the option part of what we do. He's now added the element of being able to distribute the ball to our receiving core that we think is pretty good in an effective way. We don't want to just swing it out there and not get him the ball. And his accuracy's immensely improved over a year ago, and he understands coverage is much better. And that's just a second year trying to make the same reads, and he's much more comfortable with it, and he's really doing a good job.
Where do you feel you are with your passing game right now?
Where it needs to be. I mean, I think the closer you get to November and December football, the more you have to be able to play great defense and run the football. And those are the two components Coach Beck has stressed to us as a staff that we're always going to do because of where we want to go with our program ultimately, and that's into the playoff time. But you've got to throw the ball to keep people honest. And the more you are unable to throw the ball, the more they're going to pack people in the box. If you have 6 people to block, they're going to put 7. If you have 8, they're going to have 9. And so we feel like we're talented enough outside that we can make defenses spread both horizontally and vertically to defend the whole field, which opens up our running game even more so.
Well, it was a big pass play that was maybe the play of that game on Saturday. We need to take a final break, come back, and we'll wrap up that Central game and look ahead a little bit with Coach Rampy on the Tim Beck Show right after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek live at Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh here on Mondays throughout the season. Again, not here next week with the bye week, so have to come up with something else to do on Halloween. Offensive coordinator Steve Rampy with us. Coach Beck unable to be here tonight. And Coach talking about that passing game, and huge play in that second half was the play by John Thomas. You had a nice long drive to start it, had to punt it. They go down, have a nice long drive and get points. It's a 24-10 game, 5 minutes ago in the third quarter. That's, a huge play. John gets popped pretty good over the middle, I think sandwiched and 2 yards short of a first down. What'd you see that allowed him to make it a 70-yard touchdown?
You know, it was a huge play, and we talk all the time with our kids about the 21-point barrier. You know, that once a team gets up by 21 or down by 21, there's a tendency to have the momentum swing. And we'd really preached to our kids at halftime not to let that happen. So they just scored to make it a 14-point game. And so we really needed to go put the ball in the end zone. Two things on that play were remarkable. One, John's balance, because three guys kind of sandwiched him together. And, I mean, he just literally bounced back about a yard and stayed on his feet, and he was able to be free. The three guys were all secondary guys, so it kind of hurt their pursuit a little bit. So he takes off down the side. The other part of that play that's remarkable is how hard our guys ran to get in front of him. Andrew Castaneda and John Brown and Briston Kelly ran faster than I've ever seen him run. He was about 5 yards behind those three guys. But all three of them escorted him to the end zone. And it speaks to how much they pull for each other. You know, they were going to make sure he got in the end zone. It was a remarkable play. You
know, John's a guy, John Thomas said he's going to get attention for making plays because of his physical dimensions, but yet he's a guy that every time he touches it, it seems to be a positive play for you.
Oh, he's so quick, you know, and he's tough. He's got that wrestling background.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's helped him with that play, is that he's just so hard-nosed, and he's been here for a long time, and he wants us to do well, and he understands his role. You know, he had 3 huge catches Saturday. I think all 3 of them were either 2 first downs and a touchdown, you know, 2 extended drives, and 1 put points on the board. So he's doing a great job of leading us in the passing game and just provides a great threat for us out there.
Yeah, that was a big part, I thought, in that game, because your next scoring drive to eventually get up 38-10 was – there were a couple 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, and that. How important are those? I guess it depends on certain parts of the field, but I think you were pretty pleased with 3rd down conversions.
No question. If you go all the way back to our first game of the year, we really were terrible at first downs. We were 2 for 14, I think, against Missouri Western. And so from that point on, we've really stressed every week about converting 3rd down plays so that we can keep the ball and keep the clock moving and move the chains. And our guys, since that time, have been really good. You know, we're closer to 50% probably for the year from there on. I don't know, we're about 47 rate, I think, for the year. And so that's really an important part of the game. If you can be around 50% on 3rd down conversions, you're going to keep the ball and do some damage.
You mentioned the receivers, clearly an upgrade a year ago. John Brown, Andrew Castaneda are newcomers. Talk about their threat. You've done a lot of different things, running those guys into the backfield in motion, obviously the deep ball. Do you feel like you have a pretty vast disposal there with those guys?
No question. And Frank Nacarata, one of our receiver coaches, has explicit orders for me every week that we have to get 10 touches for John Brown.
Yeah,
and when we don't do it, he reminds me up in the press box. So that's a goal for ours every week, is to get the ball in their hands any way we can. Screens, sweeps, reverses, throwing the ball to them, obviously. They add a great dimension to our offense because, like I said before, you have to spread the field to defend those guys. Speed is something that's just really hard to defend. And both those receivers bring that to us and opens up some running lanes for us.
Your last touchdown, 1st and goal, just inside the 10. Zach going down there to the north end zone. On that option keep, that play looked like you ran it. Did you run it to the short side of the field a little more last week? You
know, that's something we do a lot. You know, a lot of defenses are field-oriented. They put their support players to the field sometimes. And we feel like we can run the ball either way, to the wide side of the field, or when the numbers dictate, we can go back to the sideline. That play was really well blocked. Eric Love made a phenomenal block on a safety. Briston Kelly got upfield and just got enough of a linebacker to give Zach an alley to get there, and then he made an incredibly athletic play, diving in the end zone from about the 3, just to knock the pylon down. And that was a huge touchdown. That kind of put the final nail in their coffin.
You know, we talked about Bryston and Zach and their leading rushers. You lose Solomon Watkins, but what about Spradling and Seabold? Do you feel pretty good about the depth you have there?
No question. Spradling was a little bit slowed down with a foot injury for a couple of weeks, and I think he's just now really coming out of that completely, where he feels he has the same quickness, and he's always had great vision, but he hasn't had that burst for the last 3 or 4 weeks because of his foot. Seabold continues to be a work in progress. You know, he is much more comfortable with what we're doing, our terminology, and what we're trying to get him done. He's a tough, hard-nosed kid. He's got great vision like Spradling does. And I think before the year's over, he's going to be an integral part of what we do in the running game.
Yeah, as a coach, and we talked about this with Coach Wiemers, the bye maybe comes at a good time. You heal up, you're playing well. On the other side of the coin, you want to keep that momentum rolling. What's your take on what you try and get done this bye week?
2 things, no question, is our timing. We got to keep our timing down on all of our offensive stuff. You know, we're doing the option game, the zone read stuff, passing game. We have to keep that down. And we also have to keep playing fast. You know, we talk to our guys about playing fast and now the huddle and getting things and running wide and just doing the things that we want to do with great speed, kind of like Coach Wiemers said about the defense. We've got to maintain those things this week. We'll hit a little bit, mostly going to be in shells, and just try to really maintain the timing and the speed of the game.
Is there anything that stands out you really like to see your offense doing better right now? Overall
knock on
consistency.
wood, you just want to stay healthy. Our guys up front, we're not very deep up front, and we've got a few guys that we think can fill in and play, but we've got to stay healthy this time of year. We got to keep controlling our turnovers and just keep moving the chains and doing what we do.
Very good. Coach, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
Pitt State Offense Coordinator Steve Rampy filling in for Coach Beck. That'll do it for us this week on the Coach Beck Show. Again, he's not able to be here, but no show next Monday with the bye week. We'll be back 2 weeks, and next football game, November the 5th, Washburn. It'll be a big one, so hope to see you at the stadium on that day. CBS News next, followed by Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for listening.